Hello, and welcome to the first episode of We Don't Know What the Hell This Is Called. I'm Crimson.
I'm the angst.
And I'm insane. Really, I'm just insane.
All right, well, that's the first thing we got accomplished today. We've got names for ourselves.
We've got names, so that's fantastic.
I mean, I was thinking the same nightmare, but what's the point?
Way to tell your life story there.
Anyway, continuing.
And you are entertaining.
Oh, thank you.
Comedic gold.
So what this is kind of a Roundtree sort of discussion thing, but...
What's a Roundtree?
It's a word that apparently is a thing. I admit that I don't know what it is, but you can use the context clues to figure it out for yourselves.
This is a round table discussion.
Round table. That's why I don't know what a Roundtree is.
I don't even care if we get negative comments because we're just assholes to each other. So what's the internet going to say to me that I don't already know?
Right.
Typically.
Okay, so now that I've embarrassed myself, what else are we going to talk about other than the fact that I don't know words?
The fact that Roger's so fat he wants to keep eating. We're trying to record something.
That's some self-control, man.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Okay, so, what about this new Power Rangers thing? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think it looks pretty awesome. It's definitely a departure from what we watched as kids. They have powers outside of their suits, and it doesn't look like the coins go into a morphing thing.
Right, yeah, I did see that.
They're just kind of like colored stones, so that's a lot different. I think it looks pretty neat, though.
Yeah, I just hope that this doesn't kind of fall under the whole this reboot movement that Hollywood's been doing since like the early 90s. You know, it's been especially bad here in the 2000s and especially the 2010s, but I do have high hopes for this movie.
Well, I mean, it's so bad that they've run out of ideas. I just saw that Leonardo DiCaprio picked up Captain Planet for a live-action film.
Right, yeah.
He's going to hear about that.
Yeah, I would much rather they just make a full live-action version of the Don Cheadle skit.
Yeah.
Right. Tree. But Power Rangers has come under a lot of fire lately because I was reading a bunch of people saying, you know, why do the female actors have to have such big breasts? And why in their costumes can you see that, you know, in the originals you couldn't tell? Well, in the originals that was little Korean and Japanese people in costumes. That's why nobody had any curves. Go look at the Pink Ranger now.
Yeah.
Like I ever stopped.
Right.
You know, but then the other faux pas they made these the movie posters with the individual characters. They had the Trini character.
Yeah.
And the tagline, no driver's permit needed.
Right. Yeah.
Which is terrible.
Which is very insensitive.
Because the original actress
died in
a car accident.
Right.
And somebody over at the studio should have realized that, you know, put two and two together that this is a bad idea. It's not pro wrestling where they're like bad taste on purpose.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like that. You know, us who are growing up, you know, would forget that.
Yeah.
So.
Although I still remember her from The Crow.
The second Crow movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that until you mentioned it to me.
Yeah, I was like, you know who that is? That's the Yellow Ranger.
That's
no,
the
it's
Yellow
not. Yeah,
yes, it is.
She grew up.
Yeah, she did. Then again, I mean, she was an adult by the time that Power Rangers was.
They all were.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like any teenage kid TV show, they never hire teenage kids.
Right.
Except for the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to get...
He's 19, though, by the time that the actual movie comes out, and he's going to be in his 20s.
But they're going to get to the point where they reboot Spider-Man enough where it's going to be like a baby born from the womb.
Right.
And he's going to be like Spider-Baby because younger. And I actually, you know, other than Spider-Man 3 and what they did with the symbiote suit and Venom, that whole series was pretty good. Especially, like, the first one was fantastic.
Right.
And the second one was very strong. It was just the third one lost its way with emo Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, what I also think And I know that we just jumped from Power Rangers to Spider-Man, but we'll get back to it.
We're having some nostalgia.
But the thing that I don't like about the third Spider-Man movie, I mean, I can handle emo Parker because we got so many memes out of that, so I'm okay with it. But the thing that I hate about the third Spider-Man movie is that they tried to cram 3 villains into the movie, but didn't really give any of them any backstory or any characterization at all. So you pretty much had to rely on the fact that, hey, these are Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
Also, I think that Topher Grace, great actor, wrong for the part.
He was not Eddie Brock.
He was not Eddie Brock. Not one moment did I think, hey, there's Eddie Brock.
No.
Yeah.
I always thought that, hey,
There's that guy from that 70s show.
yeah, it's Eric Foreman.
Because he didn't even try to act outside that part.
Right.
You know, and that's... But see, the problem is before Marvel films started doing things, nobody knew how to build a superhero movie. It was, well, we're going to have how everybody gets their powers.
Right, the origin story.
You know, which an origin story is fine. But like Spider-Man, I've already got it.
Yeah.
Why in all 3 of those movies did they have to replay his origin again? I mean, just snippets, but it was still like, okay, so that was another 5 minutes that we could have gotten back because nobody's starting with Spider-Man 3.
Right.
You know, and if they are, they're going to watch Spider-Man 1 and 2 when they got home.
Exactly.
You know, so they wasted time on that, and then they wanted to do a bastardized version of how Sandman became Sandman, and that didn't make any sense. He was just running against sand, and then boom, now he's Sandman. They butchered the idea of the symbiote. You know, and
like they can't even bring that back almost.
Well, they're still planning on it, but having a completely different view.
Right. It's going to be a different.
And it's part of the.
I just felt like they just ruined it to me.
Well, they for one of the biggest things about the symbiote was he never took that off.
Right.
And so now his costume's just dirty, and he can still take it off.
Right.
Like it wasn't bonded to him.
Exactly.
You know, the awesome thing about the 90s cartoon that we watched and the comic books is I want to be in street clothes now.
Yeah.
And it would change into street clothes.
Right, exactly.
You know, and that was something that, you know, I don't know if it was budget constraints. I mean, hell, it was a movie where they decided that the way he walked up walls was little micro hairs grew out and he shot the webs out of his own arms. So, I mean, they'd already taken liberties, but there was so much that they could have done with the costume. You know, and then they had to bring Franco back, and instead of bringing Franco back in a way that made sense, you know, he's Goblin now. Yeah, and it was.
I mean, well, at the end of Spider-Man 2, he
you
realized
knew it was
that,
coming,
right? Yeah. So I can let that slide because he found all of Daddy's toys and stuff like that. Yeah. But it never really went into.
Well, it was like they had 30 minutes left in production, and they're like, "Well, shit, let's put him on the glider."
Well,
I mean, because I
felt like that they just did that because they needed to resolve the arc because they weren't sure that they were going to do a Spider-Man 4 at the time, which honestly, I don't know which direction that they could have taken it because that whole arc was pretty much destined to end in the third movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could have.
They could have stretched it out. And
they could have branched out and done like the Maximum Carnage.
Sure,
series, which would have been really neat. And then there were other heroes that they could have brought in. You know, because during that you had Cloak and Dagger, you had Iron Fist, Luke Cage. So there were quite a few properties that Spider-Man could have gotten because they didn't have Marvel films to compete with yet.
Right.
But it was. I mean, it's the same problems that you run into with all the other ones. Like, okay, so Batman Returns.
Right.
Because, you know, Batman just had Joker, and that was fantastic.
Right.
It was proof that you could have one guy versus one guy, and that could carry a film. You know, Batman 2, it was, well, now let's squeeze in Black Harvey Dent, which made no sense since the next time you see him, he's a white guy.
Right.
But, you know, so you had Harvey Dent, which he wasn't a bad guy yet. So he's technically not a villain. But then you had Catwoman and Penguin, neither of which was fully fleshed out, but they were fleshed out much better than what Spider-Man 3 tried to do.
Right.
And then you had the other guy,
Then you had
the guy that
Christopher Walken played.
Yeah,
Which was,
Max.
which was Max. That's going to bother me.
We'll remember later for no reason.
Right, we'll put it in the next episode.
Yeah. But yeah, the one that, like, I already gave blood. You gave pints. I'm talking about gallons.
Right.
And so they did a much better job of fleshing it out, but it was also, they didn't believe, in my opinion, didn't believe in their product enough that they could have had like a Batman versus Catwoman movie or a Batman versus Penguin. They had to make the diabolical guy for Catwoman to have somebody to fight. They had to make the Cobblepot story different than what it was in the comic books, and that's changed so many times too.
Right. Sure.
And then as the Batman movies progressed, it was let's throw in a bunch of big name guys and. Essentially what became bit parts. Even though they were the main villains, they were still bit parts.
Right.
And
you also have to remember that between Batman Returns, which didn't make as much money as they were hoping, and Batman Forever, which got a new director, there was things that I felt was lost in the shuffle there.
Yeah, and eventually we wound up with freaking bat nipples.
Bat nipples. And the Bat credit card.
Yeah, take the Bat card.
Yeah.
Expiration date forever. Oh God, Batman Forever. Hey, you got it in there.
I do want to say that there's the scene where where in Arkham, the one guy sitting next to the outfits of both the Riddler and Two-Face, which I thought was kind of a clever nod to the movie. But that was about the only clever thing about the entire movie.
Yeah. But back to Power Rangers.
Yeah, so getting back to the Power Rangers.
So, you've got this just completely different idea where, when in the TV show, there was a threat and Zordon called them in.
Right.
And in this one, they're out exploring a place and
have to come across it.
Ooh, what's this? Let's all take one. And it happens to be the exact colors we need.
Yeah.
Which is always... any TV show or movie or anything with colors is always amazing. Like Captain Planet, the red guy that always wore red shirts. Right, you get the fire ring. So I typically only wear black shirts. So I would be the Black Ranger.
Right.
Even though my favorite color is red. It would still be like, you wore black today, you're the Black Ranger. And then it would...
I mean, what happens if just, like, at that time, oh, hey, there's two guys wearing black. Do we make them both the Black Ranger? Or
you ask what color underwear they got on. Which would be really awkward if you were Commando, so you just got, like, the flesh-colored Ranger.
Wow. Saban is weird.
Yeah, but wouldn't you hate to see, like, if he had one of the, the dragon daggers?
Oh, yeah.
He's just flesh-colored guy.
Yeah, with the
skin flute.
With the skin flute. It's like a giant penis sword.
Why is my arm this big? Dude, why is yours this big? Because I'm the Black Ranger.
Right.
Actually, that's not racism. It's stereotype, which is a little bit different.
Now, going back to my nostalgia thing, because that's sort of the thing I do. And I posted this on Facebook, so those of you who are watching this, which is nobody right now, I posed a question that why in the Power Rangers movie, after they get the powerful power-up, that Kimberly doesn't know how to use her Zord, but everybody else is like, okay, yeah, let's just rock this out like a boss.
That's just always a subtle nod that women don't know how to drive.
Yeah, I don't know how to respond to that. But I mean, is it like everybody? But like everybody knows how to use the Zord, but she's the one who asked the question: how do we work them?
Yeah, and that's the thing about all these things too. Is like all of a sudden they know how to pilot these things.
Right. I mean, and I get that they did that for the joke, but that just seems kind of odd that they would ask that when Power Rangers has been a thing for a couple of years at that time. Now, if this was the first episode, I would understand.
Yeah.
That's a question that you want to ask. I mean, how do you fucking pilot these 50-ton things?
Mm-hmm. With not two levers.
With or with karate moves, apparently, if you're the White Ranger.
Yeah.
Which I think is the coolest superpower ever.
But see, it would be awesome, like, that's how they control it, kind of like the Geigers from Pacific Rim.
Right.
Like, they're just connected to it.
Right.
But then again, like, Turtle! Ah!
You gotta keep it.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'm tired. Oh, shit. But it's funny because every movie, like everybody's suddenly a master of drifting. Right. Everybody's suddenly a master at like that.
I mean, if you explain it in a montage, sure. Whatever.
A montage I'm good with.
Yeah, but if they just automatically know something, even the Matrix, where you get things downloaded in your brain, they show
that it's happening.
That's happening.
Yeah. I know kung fu.
That's because they showed him and they said, explicitly he's been doing this for 10 hours. So I mean, if it's a direct download to the brain, I can buy that. But like these supposed teenagers, who most of them probably barely just got their driver's license,
and then all of a sudden
are how to operate a weapon of mass destruction. Sure, whatever.
I could buy it.
17-year-olds join the army. But then again,
right?
They have to go through basic training.
Sure,
that's going to at least teach you something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something in that movie that's always bothered me. So.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that bothered me was I have the news, but that's personal preference.
Yeah.
And then especially, I just love how Power Rangers, the first movie, became popular again when X-Men Apocalypse started coming out.
Because of how...
Oh my God! It looks like I've news. Those are pre-production set photos. They haven't been doctored. They haven't.
Yeah, and I get that.
That's like if you walk on set,
right,
for Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. There's a dude with a stick with a Groot head on it.
Exactly.
Like, oh my God, they made Groot look like a dude holding a stick with a head on it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Like,
right.
You gotta let them do their movie magic. I mean, like,
at the same time, there are some things that you might want to think about putting on the internet. Well, because it's going to be.
Well, it wasn't. It was it Vanity Fair or one of those magazines?
Right.
That they just came and took set photos. It wasn't. It wasn't the studio planning out shots. It was they did some set stuff.
So. You know what also bothered me back in the day?
Pants.
Well, sure, but why did they? I think it's kind of pretentious to call a movie the first movie because it just makes it sound like that your movie's going to do well enough to warrant a second one.
Pokemon, the first movie?
Well, yeah, but that we knew that was going to be a phenomenon. Sure, but also back then there was like Doug, the first movie, and nobody really even wanted to see that movie. But yet they, well,
actually, it pretty much like the hype of Doug had ended at that point.
Right.
I actually watched.
I think that was at the time when what was it? ABC bought the rights, or Disney bought the rights.
Like I watched a video about how terrible that movie was because I don't remember if I actually ever saw it.
Yeah, I did,
but they were saying that like the studio bought the rights, and then the story had nothing to do with anything that had ever happened on Doug, and it was like Doug still really wants Patty. Well, he already got Patty by the time that movie came out.
Right.
And then here comes this other guy that has never been there before, and he just happens to be all like it was every stereotype they could get from like romantic cheesy comedies drawn to Doug. There was like Quailman didn't make sense. Like nothing worked. And voice of the actors weren't exactly the same because I think it was like Skeeter's voice was different or something like that.
Right.
It was like it just made no sense.
And something that I found interesting is that Word of God says that Skeeter was a black person.
Word of God.
Yeah, but the actual producers, the writers, everybody.
Oh yeah.
That Skeeter was actually supposed to be like their version of a black person.
I thought it was green.
He was green.
He was green.
He was like a
black friend.
Yeah, he was like the black friend. He taught Doug how to dance. He taught Doug how to like talk in their city and shit like that. So
I never thought about that.
Never.
It's apparently a true thing.
Well, I don't know. Like watching cartoons and stuff. Like I don't care what.
No, I mean I don't either. But
the color of a person is,
but
it's green.
Sure,
like,
and I understand that, but I think that it's...
and somehow my child brain was like cool with that. Like,
right.
Yeah, Skeeter's green.
Yeah, Skeeter's green, sure. No, and I just
thought
think
everybody had funny colors and
right. Yeah,
in that
no,
show,
but
period.
no, I understand that, and you know, I'm not saying this to be racially profiling. I just think that it's a very interesting study, and
the fact that they have said
that he's the black friend.
He was a black friend,
right?
Which is cool.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, and does make a lot of his characterization make a little bit more sense now.
Yeah,
but I mean, I just think that that's kind of cool. So
I keep hoping they'll make another He-Man movie. There's my nostalgia.
There you go.
They keep
a live action one.
They keep alluding.
Well, like they hired a guy to play He-Man, and it looked like it was going to happen, and then it fell through. And then they hired another guy, and I'm like, oh, I like this guy. Like he's probably like Arnold and can't speak English, but I don't care.
Yeah,
I just want to see like muscular Aryan, perfect race white dude with long blonde hair fighting a dude that has muscles
and a skull,
but a skeleton head.
Yeah,
like makes no sense. I just wanted to see them go at it, and then I want to watch Tila and Evil Lynn go at it.
There you go.
And so,
I like the sound of that.
Make it happen.
But instead, we got a TV show on Fox called Zord. What is it?
Like Son of Zorn or something?
Yeah, Son of Zorn, which is supposed to be like He-Man-esque.
Well, yeah, he's He-Man and Conan and
all that.
Any of the barbarian characters.
Set in the human world.
And he's a cartoon.
Yeah.
And he's living in the real world. And
Roger Rabbit did that so much better.
Yes.
Right.
Nobody could top Roger Rabbit.
Like,
I mean, Cool World was
alright. Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone was pretty good.
I haven't watched that in forever.
That was more different. Well, it was animated.
No.
As somebody whose career disappeared.
Yeah.
Makes me sad because he was pretty good.
Yeah.
I like Brendan Fraser.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, he's still in a couple of things, though, right?
No.
Really?
He was supposed to be in Journey to the Center of the Earth 2. They fired him and picked up Dwayne Johnson.
Right.
I don't remember. Like I watched.
That's the last thing I remember him in.
Was the first? Yeah. Something happened. I don't remember if it was like he came out about his political preference, which a lot of times when actors say they're Republicans, they seem to like not exist anymore, or they become Scott Baio and nobody cares what he says.
He did the Mummy. Which Mummy was it with Jet Li?
The fourth one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jade Emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jade Emperor. Was that the fourth one?
Yeah.
Because there was the Mummy, and then there was the Mummy's Returns.
And then third. Yeah,
I want to say it was the third.
It might be. There was Mummy Returns, Mummy Jade Emperor, and in between was the first Scorpion King.
That's right.
That's right.
The Scorpion King was in Mummy Returns.
That's right. That's right.
So when The Rock was a giant.
Was a giant
Scorpion.
shitty CGI.
Horrible CGI. Bad. Oh my god.
I remember when Rock left to go film the movie and they touted it and everything. Then because of the movie he learned how to kip up.
Yeah.
And then every match after that, oh look, there's The Rock with a kip up because he learned a new skill, which was fine.
Sure.
But everybody else kips up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, all right, whatever. But it was The Rock. He could do no evil.
Right.
Hell, he made heel Hogan turn face.
Right.
That match made no sense.
He was in Doom.
I love that movie. As terrible as it is, like the concept behind it, like when they went first person.
Yeah, that's the part
that was the best part of that movie.
That's the only part of that movie that I really remember.
I enjoyed it. It was one of those ones where.
I mean, I
felt that they tried too hard and not hard enough all at the same time.
Right. I bet you if I watched it now, I would watch it with, the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia and be like, hey, this isn't such a bad movie. But I remember being like, this is the worst thing in creation.
No, the worst thing.
Except for the first-person perspective.
Yeah.
No, the worst thing in creation is Starship Troopers 2.
Yeah, it is.
It's the worst movie ever made. Like, I
Were they intending to make that a comedy? Because that's what it seemed like to me.
No, it wasn't. It was just.
It was a horrible comedy.
Bad. Like, I remember like most of that movie, they're like stuck in the room with each other, and then one dude wants to fuck somebody the whole time. It's like,
yeah, that's
shut the fuck up, you.
The stupidest comedy.
You know, and then like so that failed so bad, and they've made like really great animated ones after it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to know more? Have a little box.
But I remember that I don't know which movie came out, or I don't know which came out first, but I want to say that either StarCraft was sort of I want to say it came after, and Starship Trooper was kind of like their main inspiration for making the StarCraft series.
Well,
I want to say that the movie came out.
Starship Troopers, the book, had been out for a
while, right?
Before they made the film.
Sure.
And it was actually a fairly decent recreation.
Yeah.
Granted, the book touches a lot more.
Sure.
But yeah, so like StarCraft would have had to come out of the idea of that world.
Right. That's. But they were so close together that one would want to think that either one of them drew inspiration from the other.
Yeah. You remember that old video game Wing Commander and the movie they made for it? I watched that again.
See,
I can't remember the names of the actors in it right now, but like it was one of those ones that flew so far under the radar.
Right.
I wonder.
Now, I want to say that watching that movie made me wonder whether the game was even that good. I mean, it was, but you know,
yeah,
just
they had
for that
like
moment.
they had like audio and stuff from it,
Right.
which was kind of neat. You know, it's just it's cool when they go like into our childhoods and try to pull stuff out, which is essentially where this conversation started.
Mhm.
Power Rangers. But unless it's somebody that cares,
Right.
like it turns into crap, like Super Mario Brothers. As a small child when that movie came out, that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Greatest thing I'd ever seen. I was confused. Like, that's a Goomba?
Yeah.
Goomba's the little mushroom guys.
Yeah.
Like,
see, for me, where that movie failed is that Jumpman Mario didn't want to jump.
Yeah.
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 See, I could handle everything else about that movie, but like the guy who's known for running and jumping
I don't want to jump.
didn't want to run or jump.
Come on, Bob Hoskins, jump.
And Yoshi
being an actual. I could.
Like, no, the game.
Right.
I've always imagined him being the same height as Mario.
Sure.
And everything. No, they made him a little dinosaur. How are you gonna ride that?
Well, see, I could look over that because like he was not really an evolved dinosaur. Maybe he was just a baby at the time because in Super Mario World, when you go to like the Star Road, they start off as babies and they eat everything.
True.
So I could overlook that.
See, wasn't it
just the fact that he didn't really do anything except for use his tongue to trip up the one chick.
Yeah.
And that was it was Princess Daisy, wasn't it?
And it was Princess Daisy,
which is Luigi's squeeze.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I could look over that because the movie made it more geared towards Luigi's adventure more than Mario's adventure. So
at the end of the day.
So I can understand that, but that I can look over a lot of things, and it's become one of my favorite movies. I just don't think of it as a Mario movie.
No.
I just think of it as like
they would have named it
this is some sort
movie.
of.
I would have been much happier.
I go back and watch it every once in a while because it's entertaining.
Yeah,
one of my favorite actors is in it. John
Leguizamo. Yeah, Leguizamo's amazing.
I mean,
he is
for him being the second-rate, actor and everything. He was
the best part of Spawn.
Yeah. Oh, everybody loved him in Spawn as the clown.
He's actually the only part in Spawn that I still remember.
Right.
Every time a person farts, a demon gets his wings. Twins.
Yeah.
That movie was so bad. Like, I actually liked. It was Michael Jai White that played Spawn, right?
Right.
He did a good job. It was just that they were so afraid to like actually touch Spawn. It was like we want it to be gritty and dirty.
The problem with that movie is that I think they didn't push enough for the R rating because I want to say that was a PG-13 movie.
I thought it was R.
I have to look that up, but if it was R, they didn't really push the boundaries of
not
what R
really.
could do.
The other problem was that it was made too early.
Yeah.
Because the biggest part of Spawn, R. MPAA or PG-13. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So
2 versions of it.
probably.
And if there are, why haven't I seen the R-rated one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says R/PG-13. I don't understand. The Violator.
But yeah, I think that movie would have been much better if they would have just pushed the R rating a little bit harder, made it a hard R.
Yeah, well,
hard.
But they were also afraid for the hard R's.
Sure, back at that time.
Yeah, because like Blade was R, wasn't it? Or it was a harder RPG-13.
Right.
But it's a comic book movie. We can't really press. But I've been reading. They have greenlit another Spawn film.
Yes, and I'm excited for that.
And Todd McFarlane is writing it.
Yes.
Period. Like he's gonna obviously like the studio is gonna have to look over it and stuff, but
sure.
The man who created the mythos
of Spawn.
Yeah, we're gonna do this, and he did say he's gonna wear the cape the whole time. Like most of Spawn's power comes out of that cape.
Yeah.
Not the little chompy, skulls on his chest that become chains. No, he uses chains.
Sure.
They're not stuck in his chest.
No. Yeah, that was stupid.
I remember there was a series that came out called Curse of the Spawn, so it went and showed like other Hell Spawns.
Right.
Like the first couple of issues was, I can't remember the guy's name, it was like Daniel or something, but he was a different Spawn, and he was so cool because it wasn't chains, it was bone.
Right.
It was just really neat. So like, I kept hoping for a good Spawn, and then the old HBO cartoon for Spawn. There's like two cartoon movies. Those are hard.
Yeah,
R's. But they're more Sam and Twitch films, following the Sam and Twitch. It's the 2 cops, the fat cop and the skinny cop.
Oh yeah.
It follows them more.
Right.
Than it follows Spawn. Spawn's kind of like mythological. Kind of like they want to do with Batman in the Batman movies to begin with. It's like, there's a Batman. No, there's not. And so they did that more with Spawn. Like, they would show up to, like, the aftermath and then try to put together what happened. My parents never wanted me to have those, and then, like, Walmart had them in, like, the $5 bin. My dad's like, oh, comic book stuff, I'll buy that for him. We sat down and watched it, and he's like, no. And I'm like, I love Spawn. Granted, he came out when I was in high school, so it wasn't like I was a small child.
Right.
It's not like these 5-year-olds that, Mommy, I want to see Deadpool. Write them a letter. Tell them it needs to be PG or G, like everything else, because it's a Marvel movie. And Ryan Reynolds, fuck all of you. It's R.
Mm-hmm.
Although
Don't bring your kids to this movie.
Although I would be interested to see how they would make a G-rated Deadpool movie.
Impossible.
No, it would
it would suck ass.
No, it would. Well, no.
Well,
they made
like a PG.
A G, no.
Say PG, yes.
Say it's a G. Because the jokes.
G-rated.
Well, the jokes, even if they figured out the most clever way to veil them, because like you can watch any old cartoon that we watched as kids. There was a joke for our parents that we had no clue. That's a blowjob. Like, you have no clue, and that your parents are laughing, and you're like, that's so funny.
What's so funny?
So it would be a bunch of jokes like that, but they would have to be so creatively clever. Like, I like that Deadpool was rated R, and that they stuck to it because Deadpool is a rated R character. But a lot of what the movie did was, we're going to push the envelope simply because we can. And they knew that they were either going to pass amazingly or fail. Right. There was going to be no, Deadpool's going to do okay. It's either going to suck ass or it's going to be amazing.
And Deadpool right now is the highest grossing rated R movie ever.
Really?
Up to this point. It used to be Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah, the second one.
The second one.
Reloaded.
Which was not actually a bad movie, even though it gets a lot of crap.
I liked it.
I just felt that
I didn't like the third one.
The third one, I felt that the third one
was.
I felt that the third one was a little bit rushed.
It got weak, and that.
Well,
I don't even know.
They shot both of them at the same time.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
but the story just it went this way when.
Yeah.
The logical twist and the good twist would have been over here.
Yeah.
And then
After watching it over and over and over again,
Yeah, I've watched it a lot.
Yeah, I still like the movie. I just don't think that.
I like that there's a fan theory that the one was
never Neo.
Was never Neo.
Actually,
it's Agent Smith.
Agent Smith,
because it's a computer saying the prophecy. So, like, one day there will be a computer program that can break the code, and that motherfucker, like, I'm gonna go inhabit a human body. Like, that's kind of breaking the Matrix a lot.
Well, they mentioned in the first movie that Morpheus says that it was a man born in the Matrix, and who was born in the Matrix? Smith.
Yeah. Although technically speaking, the human batteries were all born in the Matrix.
Technically.
There's
actually a film theory on YouTube where it talks all the points that points to Smith as being the one.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I love seeing film theories because like there's one now where like Sandy or Sandra D from Grease was dying. Like it's all like a death dream.
Or like Jar Jar was a Sith Lord.
Jar Jar the Sith Lord makes so much sense. Especially since when they go back and show you, and I've went back and watched the actual movies because I don't ever trust people's screen grabs. But every time like a pivotal moment happened, Jar Jar's mouth is making the same words.
Exactly.
And the fact that George Lucas has said that Jar Jar was the key to everything. And after the negative reaction he got from the first movie, Jar Jar just took a back seat.
Right.
But it would be so cool if like this new guy is Jar Jar.
Yeah.
But it would make no sense because he looks nothing like Plagueis.
Right.
You know, but
like I did hear I watched those movies again. After hearing about the film theory, and there's a part in the second movie where Jar Jar decides to vote to give the Chancellor supreme power, and I was like, that's what happened.
Yep.
So, and I mean, I doubt it's true, but there's a lot of points, that points to that theory, and I think that's really interesting. Now, I've watched the Clone Wars, and he is not nearly as he's not nearly as insufferable as he is in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
True story about the Clone Wars series is that they actually wanted Christopher Lee to do Dooku's voice, but then he heard the actual voice actor who was going to fill in for him, and Christopher Lee's like, well, why do you need me here?
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah. So that's cool on you, Christopher Lee.
Right.
Isn't he a sir? Is he Sir Christopher Lee?
He was a sir.
Yeah.
He is no longer with us, and that makes me sad.
That's right.
But one of the last projects that he had was he was actually in sort of like an opera rock band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did Christmas music and stuff.
Like Christmas music, and he
hardcore stuff.
Like some pretty hardcore stuff.
He was into death metal.
Yeah.
Like you don't expect
someone like Christopher Lee to be into
right.
it. As soon as we're done here, I'll let you listen to one of my favorite songs that he does.
Yeah. Saruman, the death metal guy.
Yeah.
Although he does have the power of voice.
He does.
Yeah.
I really hate it, and I understand why that they didn't bother to do it, but I really wanted to see the battle in the Shire after the war was over, because there's like a whole almost 100 pages of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there was so much that.
Right. I mean,
they couldn't get everything. Just like there was so much stuff left out, like visiting Tom Bombadil.
Right, but to be fair,
mattered.
But to be fair, Tom Bombadil was more of a big lip alligator moment in the entire series. So
yeah, but it was still.
I mean, it was
still
important.
Pivotal stuff.
Right. So
big lip alligator moment.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's understandable.
I just love how Lord of the Rings is 6 books. Everybody thinks it's 3, but it's 6 books.
It's 6 books.
They made 3 movies off of 6 books.
Right.
They made
3 movies out of 1 book for The Hobbit, and they put in 2 characters that was never even mentioned in the book. Legolas and and the chick.
The chick's not just not mentioned. She don't exist.
She doesn't exist.
Because it does say in The Hobbit that they met up with Legolas's father and stuff.
Right.
So it
I mean, it was stands to reason that Legolas would have been there.
You could believe that Legolas would be there.
Right.
But but
I don't
creating the love interest thing.
Right.
And then she had like
had
Legolas, and also I like this dwarf. Right. So I want me some dwarf dick.
Besides,
I will spin him like a helicopter.
I mean, what would you even call that? Like a dwelf? If they had a baby?
A dwelf?
A dwelf? I mean, whatever.
An Elwolf?
I got nothing.
An Elwolf?
An Elwolf. Yeah,
I think
dwarf is better.
Yeah, so
I got that dwelf money.
There you go.
Oh god.
No, but quite honestly, like other than creating stuff, they also the white warg.
Right.
He died when
he
Oakenshield became Oakenshield.
Right.
He didn't chase them around. He didn't exist. The guy who voice acted him is fantastic.
Yes, he is.
First saw him in Spartacus, where he was Crixus, and he's fantastic. If you guys haven't seen Spartacus, you should watch Spartacus.
I think I saw the first season of it.
Yeah, Spartacus was great.
Blood and Sand?
Yeah.
Spartacus was great.
Yeah.
He played Deathstroke in Arrow.
Okay.
And he's been in a couple of other things. I'm trying to remember. There was Chronicles of Shannara.
Right.
He's the wizard in it.
Okay.
There you
go. His name is not coming to me. It's really good. The books are great too if you want to borrow those.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like MTV started with the second book. Actually, there's like 200 books to the series.
Sure.
But the Shannara Chronicles specific, they started with the second book because the first book was way too much like The Lord of the Rings. And I read an interview with the author, and they were asking about that, and he's like, growing up, my favorite book was Lord of the Rings. First thing I ever wrote was basically Lord of the Rings. It's like, I'm not even gonna lie, I ripped it off.
At least he can come forward about that.
Yeah, really.
You know, he also wrote it like as a kid. Like,
sure. Okay.
He's like, so I ripped it off, and I'm like, I ain't even mad at you, like, because pretty much everybody. Anybody that talks about orcs or talks about like any of these things, they're ripping off Tolkien.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because Tolkien created all of that.
And Tolkien was essentially ripping off C.S. Lewis. And C.S. Lewis was ripping off of somebody else. And so I mean... But yes...
C.S. Lewis and Tolkien were like best friends.
Right.
So they weren't really ripping off. It was they would sit down and talk about stuff.
Right.
And actually because we were looking up, I think it might have been Orc, one of the character types that he made. I looked it up, and it was a blend between like an ancient like Irish story and a English story that he put together. And then the word had already existed, but it meant something else.
Right.
So I mean, but the man was also a linguistics professor.
Exactly.
That's how he made like the dark speech. That's how he made like entire languages.
Yeah.
Right.
And systems of how to speak them. I mean, the man was nobody's gonna top the guy.
Sure.
And you got like George R.R. Martin, who stole frickin' J.R.R.'s R's.
Yeah.
The Song of Fire and Ice guy, Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good writer, but he ain't Tolkien.
No, I mean, nobody can be Tolkien. So...
But he's probably the closest that this generation has to a Tolkien-esque writer.
Sure.
The J.K. Rowling's really not a bad writer at all.
No.
The world that she created
is great.
It's pretty awesome. I enjoyed all those books. I need to pick up the new one. That's the screenplay, Cursed Child or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never really read any of Rowling stuff, and I've never really watched any of the movies except for maybe I want to say the first one, the one where they like have the squeaky voices and whatnot. So there's my thing. I've just never really been into it.
We're gonna have a couple Harry Potter nights.
Heard that.
It's a good series.
I mean, I'm sure it is. Just wasn't really into it.
Harry Potter really turned me on. So I gotta invest in getting more of her books.
And you think that I would have read her stuff or at least watched the movies because I'm the only person here who's actually like done the D&D and
right,
and that sort of stuff. Which I'm actually trying to get a group together. I have a
post about that.
Yeah, I mean I have a group on Sundays, but I want to do it maybe a little bit more because I've got too much creative flow going on and whatnot. Just jokes.
Indeed.
Indeed. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
45 minutes. 46.
There you go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
From now on, all of our videos, we're gonna play open chest.
Oh, come on.
Like
usually when
nope.
It's gonna be when Crimson says something like that, he really means it.
I'm gonna be like,
I'd rather play
oh God.
I'd rather play Buttery Knuckles.
Buttery Knuckles?
Bloody Knuckles.
Buttery Knuckles sounds like fun too.
Oh. Sounds like something you guys do, like.
No, not us. It ain't like that video, that picture I posted to you guys.
Oh yeah,
bros.
No.
So what do you think?
Yeah. I can trim this bullshit stuff off.
We could add commercials in here and there, make it an hour.
There you
That's
go.
what they do in all television shows. Or what used to be television shows.
Jeez.
Nowadays it's all Netflix
Mm.
and Hulu.
All right. Well.
So,
Excuse me.
you just wanted an opportunity to dab.
Yeah.
That's all that
Exactly.
was. You wanted your outro?
No, the magic's gone.
Dabbing day.
God damn it.
There goes that. There goes that magic.
Oh, God.
You know what? Fuck the outro. I don't even care anymore.
You know what?
Ruined.
Fuck you out the outro. Yo, bitches. He came back.
Mm.
Oh, God.
And this is Peter Griffin. And that's what grinds my gears. Good night, everybody. Good drink.
I need like a shot.
I need a cigarette.
Those are bad for you.
No.
All right, let's just cut this thing.
No. No.
I had something funny,
Superman,
and
I know.
then you were like, I'm out, and I was like, just it's gone.
Yeah, the magic was gone ever since you did the.
Damn it, Roger. Oh,
Sorry.
we have comedy filler now.
There you go.
Quit dabbing. Quit it. Quit being a Spencer.
No, Spencer's. There we go. This is the Spencer. This is the dad.
All right.
Oh, God. Hey, next episode, maybe we'll have a name.
For the show.
But for right now, just remember to do one thing. Keep it tight.